What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to my channel. Now, if you're a fan of crazy drama, you're gonna love this video. No, madam, he is not going to die for another 80 years. A few weeks ago, I witnessed a large car crash, 7 cars involved, of which 3 were totaled. Today, I got the news that everyone involved survived, which to me was a reason to not post it just yet. If anyone died, I would not be writing this here. Maybe it's still not the best story because people act crazy in such situations, but I mainly want it off my chest. My hubby and I were driving about 5 cars behind the accident when it happened. A guy was driving around 180 kilometers or 110 miles an hour on the highway where 110 kilometers per hour or 70 miles per hour was allowed. He raced past us and my husband said something along the lines of, "He is going to get in an accident one day." And not a second later, the guy crashes into someone changing lanes. They spin out of control, crash into another car and hit some more before stopping. We are both enjoying a basic medical and advanced first aid training, my hubby through his work at the Special Forces and me through the Red Cross Emergency Response Team. For that job, I always have my uniform in the back of my car. If I get called, I need to be able to hop in and head to an emergency site as quickly as possible, so my gear is ready to go. We stop, I grab my jacket and the suitcase with my equipment, and I tell the first few bystanders I pass to call the emergency services. My husband is already moving through the site to check for hazards, like leaking fuel, which wasn't the case thanks to a miracle of the car gods. I was already looking over every casualty to make initial urgency checks. I would be in charge of everyone stopping to help because I was the only one in uniform until ambulance and police arrive, at which point they get charged. So I had to make sure that I knew who needed treatment. I got approached by a few people who have some form of training, be it a first aid course from work or being a trained nurse. I mainly get them to take the minorly injured behind the guardrails and treat them if possible. On to our entitled mother. Her car was hit on the side, damage to the passenger side door. She seemed shaken but okay. Her son appeared to have a broken arm, but nothing major. I move on to the next car and spot some signs of neck trauma. Right away, he is on the top of my list. I tell my husband what I suspect, and he starts his work to check vitals, together with a nurse who had stopped to help. I move on to check on the others. I had 2 cars left and I didn't want to miss any major casualty. Of those 2, only the speeding car has another major injury. I will spare you the details, but it appeared later that something laying around in his car hit him in the head, leaving a crack in his skull. Not good. I call one of the people on the phone over and tell everything that I find and do, so he can relay it to the emergency services. At this point, an entitled mum comes running to me with eyes the size of a full moon, holding her son and his broken arm. "Miss, you just walked away. My son needs help." Correct, because this man needs my help more. I brushed her presence off. Anyone would be in shock at such moments, so I understood her having her priorities mixed up. "Yes, but you can't just walk away when seeing my son needs help. You are a doctor." "I'm not, but she thinks me to be one." "You are obligated to help." "Madam, this man has a way worse injury. Can I focus on my work?" The entitled mum, now with her arms firmly by her side, says, "I demand that you help my son. His arm is broken. And this man can die. Please take your son behind the guardrails. I will be with you when the ambulance takes this man from my hands." "But my son could maybe die as well. You don't know without checks." She starts to pull on my shoulder, which I just try to shrug off as I'm currently checking vitals. An interruption would require me to start over and lose time. Meanwhile, the first ambulance had seemingly arrived and they are working on my husband's case. He therefore had joined me and the entitled mum, which I had not yet noted due to my focus on my patient who was getting trouble breathing. Let's take a look at him then. He kneels down in front of the boy, checking his breathing and pulse to get a basic image of his vitals. The entitled mum mumbles something along the lines of, "Finally, someone who does something." My husband gets back up and gives the boy a hand. "You are a brave boy, not even a single tear from you. Let's get behind the guardrails now, that way you will be safe." He ignores the entitled mum and guides the boy to the rest of the patients. "He needs help right away, right? Tell this woman." "Yes, your boy might die." The entitled mum audibly scoffs at me. "In 80 years or so, maybe longer. For now, he is doing good enough to be fine." I would have liked to see the entitled mum's face at that point, but I was too focused on the man in front of me who ended up surviving and losing his driver's license. A cop who saw this all happen offered me to make a case of it due to the entitled mum's attempt attempt to obstruct a professional who was working to save a life. But honestly, I don't want her to get such a thing in her file. To me, she was just a worried mum who wanted to get her son some aid, be it in an entitled way. Moral of the story, drive safe, folks. Well, to be honest, I think the entitled mum was a little more pushy than she should have been, but to be fair, she had just been in a multi-car accident, so she was probably very shaken. This entitled mum is the sort of person that may come across as entitled in this situation, but in reality is just absolutely normal. I mean, let's be honest, if you see the arm of your kid going backwards, you're probably gonna freak out. Anyway, the amazing thing about this story is that everyone lived to tell the tale, which is insane with a 7-car pileup. So well done OP, your husband, and the ambulance services for keeping everyone alive. Now for our second story. Entitled mum wants to use my car money for her debt. My mother, entitled mum, has a problem with money. She has about 10 credit cards and owes over $3,000 to her boss because she borrows money. I have to pay $1,250 to her each month for rent and pay all of my bills on my own, which is $50 for my phone and food/necessities. I try not to ask her for money unless I absolutely need it or I can pay her back the next day. This leaves me with no savings and nothing left over by the time I get my last paycheck. Well, I'm getting promoted to a position with a slightly better pay, which could help me start saving for my future. The catch is I have to have reliable transportation as I'm being transferred to a location that is 15 minutes away instead of 5 minutes from my house, and an open availability. My mum drives our only car to work in the morning and doesn't return until evening, so I have to work night shifts. I give just about all of my money to my mother so we won't be homeless. I don't have money to do things with friends, buy myself anything, and my job is very mentally and physically demanding. I basically do slave labor because everyone is seeing money except me. I've thought about getting another job, but I already work long hours and don't get much sleep during the day because my mum is a very loud person and talks to me and keeps the TV at max volume, etc. Oh, and asking her to be quiet does not help, as she always says, "You're always asleep when I get home. You sleep all day. You're just lazy. When I was your age." Yeah, when you were my age, you were also doing crack. Well, my grandmother lives very comfortably and offered to give me my grandfather's car because he can no longer drive and I am in need of a car to continue my career. I expect to stay with this company as the people/company take good care of their employees once they get promoted to management. Unfortunately, the car was stolen before we could drive down to pick it up. My grandmother in turn offered to give me $4,500 to buy a new car. Wow. My mum tells me this along with her plan on how she's going to use my money. The conversation went roughly like this. Gran said she wants to give you $4,500 for a car. That's cool and all, but do you think they will find the car? My entitled mum ignores me like usual. What I'll do is fix the oil leak on this car from when she drove after a surgery instead of calling me and crashed, $800, and then pay off my boss and then ask Gran to co-sign a car for me, and I'll make the payments and you can drive this car, which is from 2003 and always needs a fix. How much do you owe your boss? $3,000. No. What do you mean, no? I don't get anything out of that. It's not my fault you owe that much money and have debt up the butt because you keep buying furniture or shoes you never wear. Literally, there are dozens of brand new shoes that sit in their box, while I've worn the same 2 to 3 pairs for the past 2 years because if I want new shoes, I need to buy them. Then I won't have a car to drive to work and you will have to take me and pick me up every day. I'm sorry, but if anyone is going to have her co-sign, it's going to be me. You have terrible credit, I have no credit. I want to build my credit and have something of my own. Your $3,000 in debt is not my fault, and you're not going to use my car money and make promises you can't realistically keep. And I'm not driving an unreliable car that you ruined. At this point, she just starts screaming about how selfish I am and that she's only in debt because of me. She picked an expensive place to live so she wouldn't have to spend an extra $100 on gas per week, even though we pay around $1,000 more on rent than if we live 45 minutes away from her work than 10. She buys herself clothes and shoes and jewelry that she never wears because she never goes out. She drinks tons of beer and lounges around after work until she goes to bed. Lazy sound familiar? Did I mention she has a desk job? She keeps using Fingerhut to buy Ninja kitchen stuff or swaps out furniture because you can buy moderately expensive items on payment plans. Except they add about $100 to $300, which she would rather pay to get the item now than save and get it later. I have no idea if my grandmother is giving us a check or cash, but I hope it's a check in my name, as my mum would not give it to me otherwise. She'd say something like, "You're irresponsible, I'll hold on to it," or "I already told you I'm using the money." Do you know how how stupid that would make us look to my grandmother. She would never offer to help us again because she would feel scammed. I would be out of a car and unable to fill the promotion demands. I'll be stuck in the same boat I am now, giving all my money to my mum and not having a penny to my name a week later. Okay, how about this? Call your grandma and say instead of just giving you the money, you spend a day car shopping with her, and then she can just pay for the car and you spent a day with your grandma, which she would probably love as well. Like, there's no need for her to actually give you the money and then you go and buy a car separately, just do it together. The best thing about this solution is it doesn't involve your entitled mum at all, which is clearly a great idea. On the whole, this sounds like a horribly toxic situation in general, living with your entitled mum. I hope you're able to escape it as soon as possible. Anyway guys, that is going to do it for this episode of Entitled Parents. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Now, I've had a few messages from a few of you recently saying you are new to the channel. If that is the case, first of all, make sure you are subscribed. Go and click that button and click the notification bell as well. And also, go and binge watch all of my Entitled Parents video. Click the playlist on screen right away. There are over 180 of them right now, so that will keep you occupied for a long time. With that being said, I will see you guys all tomorrow with a brand new upload on the channel.